Okay guys, I'm back from lunch. I want to turn that log around because this end is a small end. Just to give you some ideas of this, besides measuring it, you see how smooth the bark is here? Like it's right in this area? That's telling you that this is the top or higher part of the tree. If you look down at that end, the bark is really rough looking. That's another way to tell which way the grain goes, or which way the tree grew. Now, sometimes for certain kinds of cutting, that's something that's important for you to know. Also, the way that I have my machine hooked up here, and the way that I handle this, I actually like doing this like this. I don't see doing this any other way would be better for me. Maybe a little less work, but I don't mind the work. So I'm going to pick this up with the grapple, spin it all the way around and set it back down. Okay, so that's the way I like it sitting on there. I also pulled it down that direction a little further so I would be over the toe board, just in case I got to do something with that. We'll check and see here. Okay guys, this log has a lot of dirt on it. So we're going to have to clean this off. But first I want to set it and dog it. What I'm looking for is to see just how close to the bunk the tree is all the way down, or the log. It's just about hitting all of the bunk rails, so it's pretty straight. Now, according to what I have there, in order to put the pith in the center, that end has to come up a foot, or I mean an inch, not a foot, an inch. So I'm going to crank that up about an inch, and then I should be in good shape with that. Okay. If the log is pretty much, let me just back up here. If the log is pretty tight with just one dog, it's not always necessary to tighten that second dog up. You really don't have to, but so I'm just going to use the front dog to start to cut this. Okay, so it's a 13-inch at this end. That should give me a 9-inch cant. So I'm thinking 2x4s, so I should be able to get a set of 2x4s out of that. Figure 2, 4, 6, 8, so it should be 4 2x4s across one way and 2 sets of them. So I should get 8 2x4s out of this roughly. Explain to you what's going on here, and this might help you to know what I'm measuring. So up at that other end, the cant's 13, or the log is 13 inches. This log at this end is 15 inches. So what I'm doing up there, since that small size designates the size of the cant, what I'm doing up there is I'm just taking the tape and going until I come to a point that's 9 inches across, because 9 by 9 is roughly the size of the cant I'm going to get out of there. So up at that end, like here, 9 inches is right about there. So if you look at the top of the tape and measure from there up, you're roughly taking a 2-inch cut. Now up at that end, because of the log laying fairly flat, that's what I'm doing up there. I'm coming down roughly 1.5 inches. I'm going to take a cut all the way down here, and by rights that should give me a 9-inch cant all the way down, you know, 9-inch white wood cut all the way down. Now it might not work out perfectly, but it should be darn close. And the thing is you don't want to go too far, because if I go too low into the wood, 9 inches, I won't have 9 inches at the bottom where I need to go. When I measure, in other words, when I go down 2 inches and I have 9-inch cant, I want to make sure that I have 9 inches left, and at the bottom of that I have 9 inches across. So it's kind of like an H pattern. The first line of the H is laying sideways. So the first line of the H you want 9. The second line straight down you want 9, and the third line across you want 9. So you want to be able to have a square cant out of this, 9 inches square roughly. Now in reality I only need 8 inches, but hey, if I get 9, that should give me another board out of there. And every board is one board I don't have to pay for. Now I had gotten a comment from somebody not too long ago saying something about I'm cleaning the log only to make it dirty with the dust. Well, you know, this comment was from a non-sawyer, which means that he doesn't understand that all I'm trying to do is knock the stones off of here. Because let's face it, these logs, even though they were drug in the snow, they were unloaded into a mud pile. I had to pick them up, and I'm delivering them down here to where there's another pile of stones or mud on the ground. So right now all I'm doing is trying to knock off any stones or dirt. There's a number of ways you can do it. I have a tool on my chainsaw that I could run a line down there. Some sawmills have a little cutter on it to be able to cut where the kerf is going to be of the saw blade, but I'm not worrying about that. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to put my finger on 9 or my thumb so you'll know what I have here. If you look there, I've got 9 all the way down there, nice 9-inch board. Okay, so that's the first cut of my cant, and since I have that first 9 inches, I can roll that 90 degrees and go from there with another cut. Okay guys, so that's the second cut there. Now I can lower the toe board and then just use these two straight cuts to cut the other two pieces. Okay guys, so these 2x4 that I'm going to cut out of this are going to be 12 footers, which is going to be perfect for the ceiling joists of the trusses that I'm going to be making. so I'll be getting 8 2x4s altogether out of that. I think I got like a 1/2 inch board there. Yeah, so I'm going to come 2 inches off the bunk and cut that, and that'll give me 2 2x4s, so I'll be in good shape with that. I got a comment the other day from somebody, I believe they were in Canada, and they said that boards in Canada have a certain thickness to them, certain size lumber for framing. Let me just tell you this. Lumber sizes years ago used to come depending upon where they came from. If they came from the west, the south, Canada, the thickness of boards was slightly different. Not because of any particular measurement, but because of how the sawyers of the day used to feel that lumber would shrink or whatever. So I'm cutting in a standard 2 inches by 4 inches. Okay, you can see this one board's a little wide there. I should probably cut that off again, but it has a little bit of a bend to it. The other one's a good 2x4. They're both good, I'm just saying, it's a little heavy. But the thing is that used to be a big deal years ago, the sizes of wood. A lot of it depends on how much you dry it. Depending on the dryness of the wood, it'll shrink a certain size. This is 2 1/4 inches here. I want to take a little bit off of this. When you're going to cut a real thin cut like that, when you're going after a real thin cut, you want to make sure that the bottom of the board is on the bunk and that you have the end supported as best you can. Now up at that end, it's over about 6 inches, so I'm hoping that this is going to be okay here. And I'm going to try and cut, like I say, about 1/4 inch off of this thing. So if it stays where it's at, I know the sawmill is capable of cutting that. We just have to see what happens. Sometimes as you cut these boards, they warp and twist a little bit as you go. Now all the other 2x4s looked nice and straight, okay? But this one here, for some reason, and it can be, you know, just because of the knots that are in it, but it had a little bit of a twist to it. So when I made that last cut, this end here was pulling down or up, depending upon whichever way it wants to go. And that can cause you to have a little bit of a variation in the thickness of the wood. So just for trying to keep repetitiveness at a maximum, I'm going to just run the saw at 2 inches above the bunk down through that last piece of wood. Okay, I'm hoping there's enough battery life to explain this cut to you. Well, it looks like it. Okay, so down at this end, if you look at this, you see there's about 1/4 of an inch piece there. And that's good because that gives me a 2-inch board that I'm looking for. Okay, now here's what happened here. Because this board decided to warp on the 2 cuts ago, okay, this board warped. It picked up in the middle, and that's why when I was in the middle here, I didn't get very much thickness. In fact, I came out of the board, but at this end I got the thickness that I needed to get off of it. However, here's the good news. The good news is the board is 2 inches. Now the reason it's 2 inches is because it's laying down completely on the bunk. I got the edges supported as close to the bunk as I can because of the length of the board. So that gave me a nice straight cut in the 2x4. Now that does not mean it's going to stay that way, and chances are this board's going to warp, so it's going to need weight on it, you know, in order to hold it fairly straight. But either way, if you're doing building work, and carpenters know, look through the pile, cut up the warped and bent pieces first for jacks and jack studs or whatever you need, cripples for under the windows. Those are where you get that from. Save the good wood for studs. So anyway, that's it's a 2x4. It's, you know, not an issue. It's got a good size to it. I'm just saying that when you make a cut like that, you have to go, like, you got to watch what you're doing. Make sure you understand what's happening to the log as you're cutting it. Now, if you noticed, as I was coming down here, I was moving pretty good, and then I could see the gray of the blade through the wood, and I knew it was going to come out. Now, here's what happens when you come out and why you got to slow down. When you're running the saw blade down, you know, and you have the set down on some of the teeth, what happens is, because there's nothing holding the top of the blade, the set tends to rise up a little bit. So what you need to do is keep your, you know, your bearing throat as close as you can, and then go slowly through that cut until you got both sides of the blade covered with wood. Okay? That'll keep you making nice straight cuts, just like you see this one. Guys, it's starting to rain here, So I need to put this information on my laptop. I'm glad that one of my buddies reminded me of that on YouTube. So I need to put this on the laptop, or I mean on my little notebook. I got it laying there. I never got the thing I need for it to hang it in here somewhere, but I will. So I'll shovel up this sawdust. That'll cut up tomorrow. Have a good one.